The serene atmosphere in the Russian Orthodox Alexander Nevsky Church in Jerusalem's Old City belies the fact that the religious site has become a flashpoint in the growing diplomatic disputes between Moscow and Jerusalem.
It is not sure at this very point as we speak if it is a minor diplomatic crisis meant to create a pressure, a leverage point against Jerusalem, or a game changer in the relationship between Moscow and Israel.
Israel has tried to remain neutral from the beginning of the Ukraine war. Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett even visited Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow to mediate between Russia and Ukraine. But recently, Israeli officials have been more outspoken against Russian aggression, voting to condemn Russia at the United Nations. As part of its counterattack, Russia sent Putin aide and former Prime Minister Sergei Stepashin to deliver a letter from Putin to Bennett demanding the immediate transfer of the Alexander Nevsky Church compound. Stepashin accused Israel of ignoring Russia's proven claims to the property and playing ping-pong with both sides because of the Ukraine conflict. Israel agreed to transfer ownership of the Nevsky Church to Russia in 2020 as part of a deal by former Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for the release of an Israeli imprisoned in Moscow on drug charges. Israeli courts blocked the move, though, demanding that the complicated political and legal situation in Jerusalem's Old City be resolved by a special governmental committee.
I don't believe that any Israeli government will be able at this stage to release the Alexander Church compound, to transfer it into the hands of Russia, and thus violate the status quo, which is so explosive and delicate in the Old City.
The current Russian demand for the church property could force Israel into being seen as violating international sanctions against Russia.
If Israel were making that concession of transferring the Alexander courtyards in the context of Western sanctions against Russian properties, against Russian cultural centers across Europe, in the United States, in Canada, that would create a crisis or maybe a high tension between Israel and the West, and Israel and the United States in particular.
While pilgrims inside the church strive to get close to God, the dispute outside threatens to drive Jerusalem and Moscow further apart. Linda Gradstein for VOA News, Jerusalem.